concept for the property was really quite simple. Ultimately, it was about understanding how Rosie and Dan wanted to live now and in the future. Their dynamic at the time was just the two of them, a young couple, but they were looking to have children and grow a family. And so understanding how you would live in a space in the immediate whilst also planning for the future, that poses challenges. But as architects, we're well skilled and experienced in having conversations about space and how we can actually prep for the future and make sure that properties and projects have longevity for clients. Hi, my name's Kieran Peaty and I'm Architect and Director at Studio 40. We're architects based in Billericay, Essex, and we specialise in bespoke residential and commercial projects. And today I'm going to show you around our project from new house to family home. Now, in terms of the original house, Rosie and Dan had not long moved in, and the previous owner had been in the property for quite a period of time, and it had been lived in without being loved. And so from that perspective, there was an amount of work that needed to be done to bring the house up to standard and to modernise and to make it fit for a young couple looking to make their forever home. Now, initially the brief was to extend upwards and create a first floor with additional bedrooms and bathrooms and a walk-in wardrobe. But one of the problems that we faced was that the construction of the front facade in part was made of a concrete prefab panel, which was likely to cause defective works and structural issues at a later date. And so any work that we were looking to do was going to have to remove this problematic area of the front facade. And when we really began to put together options and designs, we soon realised that actually the additional structure that we were going to be introducing at first floor level, as well as the structural issues on that front facade, were really going to become a financial burden that really put the project beyond the realms of possibility. And so as those designs and those initial ideas and conversations with the client began to take hold, it became a question of, well, if we're not able to extend, then is it more financially viable to demolish and rebuild? Because there's obviously the benefit, if you pursue a new build house, to save on the VAT. And so from a financial perspective, that suddenly became something that was much more viable, and indeed that's where we ended up taking the project. And Rosie and Dan were very keen from the beginning for the property to look as a contemporary home, and so there were ideas about render and the grey windows and the slate roof and potentially some slate cladding as well. And that's obviously all informed the look from the external. At Studio 40, we're very conscious to design buildings that have functional simplicity with moments of wow, and I think that's where this project really is successful. We have the double height glazing that we enjoy as we look at the front elevation, and that was really a conscious decision to try and make this property have some form of status, to really introduce something that was a wayfinder for people visiting the property. Here's the front door, this is where you come, this is your point of entry. I think as an architect, something that I've always been aware of through practice is that houses of a certain age have floor to ceiling heights that can be quite oppressive, and they can make spaces feel quite small, and you don't necessarily get maximum enjoyment out of them, I don't think. And that's where, with this house, I was very keen to ensure that we had floor to ceiling heights that were larger than your typical. So where a normal house would have a floor to ceiling height of 2.2 metres, for instance, we actually have 2.4 metres. And I think as you walk around the house, you'll understand that sense of grandeur. You know, if you're in a period property, it has the high ceilings, and the sense of calm, I think, that you are filled with as you walk around, it really does underscore the sense of size, and that's something that we were very keen to introduce here as well. We really wanted to make sure that the client was able to enjoy the rear garden, and I think as we were working the various design iterations and options for the client, the bedroom in all those various different designs was at the back with the headboard positioned so that as you woke up in the morning, the client was able to look straight out of the gable window that we'd added and see all the way down. And I think that's probably the most successful thing from my perspective. It's a really lovely room. That gable window is actually something that plays nicely, not just from the interior and allowing that light in, but also externally. It really works in conjunction with that double height glazing at the front and that idea of status. Now, family living predominantly happens on the rear of a property, and this is no different. And with the kitchen, living, dining space, we were really conscious that we wanted to enjoy that set of bifolds and opening up that vast expanse across the rear and bringing the rear garden in. And that's something that we were able to do quite successfully here. So it was really a question of understanding the spaces and how we could bring those together, how the build would flow, how the garden could be introduced into the property and enjoyed all year round, whether it be in the summer months where you want to open the windows and doors up and actually allow for people to interact with the garden and the pool area and play during barbecues or family time. But then also during the winter months, you want to be able to enjoy the views out to the garden. You want to be able to bring it in a visual way without actually physically stepping out into that space. So understanding the site and the existing property and how we're going to frame those views, how we're going to maximise and extract absolute value out of that site and your objectives was absolutely critical to what we were trying to do. It's taken a while to get to the finish line with this project, not least because of the difficulties of the pandemic and the material prices and labour shortages, but we're at the finish now, and I think the end result speaks for itself, and I hope Rosie and Dan are able to enjoy it for years to come with their family.